Friday, NBA. Let's look at what we're streaming in to win our fantasy matchups. Michael Bolton.
Thanks, Josh. It's Michael Bolton here, and it's time for another episode of the Locked On Fantasy Basketball Podcast. Let's get to it.
Let's get to it, indeed.
You are Locked On Fantasy Basketball, your daily fantasy basketball podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network.
Hello and welcome to the Locked On Fantasy Basketball Podcast, brought to you by Basketball Monster. My name is Josh Lloyd, and it's just one of those days when you don't want to wake up. I'm also the lead fantasy analyst at basketballmonster.com, and you can find me on Twitter, as always, at redrock_bball, on TikTok at redrock_bball, and on Instagram at Locked On Fantasy Basketball. Thank you for making Locked On Fantasy Basketball your first listen every day. We are free. We are available on all platforms. Double bang it, thumb it up, ring the bell, leave a comment. I realize that intro that I did sounds like absolutely just like that I'm like on the verge of like ending it. Really, it was just a Limp Bizkit song. So when I said it, I went, geez, that sounds like dark. So I apologize if you were getting like the wrong impression. I don't know. I just saw a TikTok with a Limp Bizkit song on it, so that's all I did. Anyway, we are here to talk about the games on Friday. There are 6 of them on. Pretty low volume Friday. We don't normally get so few games going on. But it is important for us, obviously. 3 days left in week 20. 4 weeks left after this. Fantasy seasons are over in 1 week and 3 days, 2 weeks and 3 days, 3 weeks and 3 days, hopefully not 4 weeks and 3 days. Hopefully not 3 weeks and 3 days, to be honest. So let's talk about what we need to look at, because we need to be cutthroat. We need to be making decisions. We need to be understanding that 3 is better than 1. Might be a good player, but 1 game doesn't matter. 3 does. So we are narrowing our limit of guys that we must hold, expanding our range of guys that can be moved on from. Also remember that when you are in the playoffs, if you do start dropping top 90 players to get more games in, there are usually, unless your league again is set up incorrectly with consolation rounds, which is stupid, there are fewer people that are going through the waiver wire to grab guys. So it's not like you drop someone and there are 11 other teams going to go grab that guy. There might be 3 other teams active, and they just might be like, well, yeah, that 1 game's not good, I don't want it. I'll get something else in. Or you feel all right, actually, if they add that player and they only get 1 game out of it because it means they're at a game's disadvantage. So our ability to drop players has to increase. Our threshold, our tolerance of who we keep has to be like narrowed. It has to be a lower tolerance. We're going to be cutthroat. I think we know that by now. I hope we do. Anyway, I hope I know it. Let's go. Miami, Detroit, first game up. Interesting stuff in this one. The schedules for these teams, identical. They go Friday, Sunday, and then next week, Monday, Wednesday, Friday, Sunday. Exactly the same for both of these teams. And I believe, let me go and double check this. I probably should have double checked it already, but I believe that these 2 teams play each other. Yeah. So their Friday, Sunday is against each other. Tyler Hero's out. He'll be out both of those games. Kevin Love will be out both of those games as well. Bam Adebayo popped up on the injury report as probable. He has obviously been struggling with his form, but it's a back issue, but he'll be all right. Asar Thompson was questionable, but he is not anymore. He has been ruled out. They've also just recently ruled out Quentin Grimes, and they chucked old mate Cade Cunningham onto the injury report as questionable. Now, last game, he didn't play at all in the final 15 minutes of the game, Cade. And they said it was, well, lineups, and that Cade actually requested that Sasa stay out there. So now I'm looking at that going, really? Or are you lying? Because that feels like a lie now. The Cade on a non-back-to-back has just popped up as a questionable tag. Okay. That's something to monitor. Sarah's out with what is going on with this illness. They originally said asthma. Like, I know asthma attacks, they can last a few days. This is a long time. This is something else going on. This is another illness popping up. So Simone Fontecchio's value does rise here. What are we looking at for Miami? Well, it is Bam we're looking at. Because honestly, he sucks. I know that's a very relative term, but he sucks in comparison to what he's done in the past. Can't hit 2s, never hits 3s, doesn't block shots, assist rate cut in half, can't hit free throws. He still scores, he still does his thing, but from a fantasy point of view, he's bad at the moment, and we want to see it turn around. And then for Detroit, I actually wrote that I wanted to watch what is happening with Cade Cunningham, because his minutes last game were not where they needed to be. He's been awesome, I think, down the stretch. I believe he's the 16th ranked player over the last 3 weeks, -1. And where he goes next year in drafts will be very, very interesting. And that's going to depend a lot on what they do as a team. Who gets boosted? Duncan Robinson continues to get a boost with Tyler Hero out. Kevin Love out gives that boost to guys like Little Chungus as well. But Duncan's the bigger one there. And then if we go past Duncan Robinson, we go to HawksJazz and Caleb Martin. And then, amazingly, it is James Wiseman. I've said this for the last week and a half. He's actually usable. He's usable in 14-10. And someone said, man, is hell freezing over? Yeah, man. Get your Parker on. It's cold. Because James Wiseman's... he's not good. But James Wiseman is playable. And for fantasy, with a great schedule, 6 games, if I'm in 14-teamers, Jim is an option. And again, I cannot believe I'm saying that. Phoenix and the Charlotte Hornets. This is a back-to-back for the Suns, but they also play on Sunday. So they've got 3 games in 4 nights, Thursday, Friday, Sunday. Then next week, there's a 2-game break to start the week. Next week is a very low-volume week. They don't play Monday, Tuesday, and then they go Wednesday, Thursday, Saturday. The Hornets, we know we've been waiting for this 2-game week all season. They play Friday, Saturday, so they've got a back-to-back Friday, Saturday, and then Tuesday, Saturday next week. Stinks. Bad. It's really bad. Eric Gordon is a game-time decision for Thursday, so I'll just list him questionable for Friday. Nasir Little is available for the game on Thursday, but because it is a back-to-back, I would expect that he doesn't play on Friday. Okogie is out on Thursday. I don't think he plays Friday either. Damian Lee will be out. I did put the asterisk there next to LaMelo Ball because there was this conspiracy theory that LaMelo was going to return on Friday on the 15th because one of the Hornets announcers was reading the promo for this game and the graphics department had put LaMelo Ball on. And went, LaMelo Ball, is he playing? And people were like, oh my God, it is. He's coming back. He's not. He's out. I don't think he's coming back. I don't know, but I also know that with the 2-game week coming back, that even if he does come back, it's okay to drop him. Like, we are at this stage where the schedule is weak enough that even if he comes back, he'd be on limited minutes and you're not missing out on that much. And it's been one of the most frustrating seasons, mainly through a lack of information, because he was actually really good when he was playing. He was very good. But the lack of information's killed us. Cody Martin and Seth Curry will be out. Bryce McGowan's has actually just been ruled out as well. It is a back-to-back. For the Hornets, Alexei Pokusevski played 26 minutes last game, and given that everybody is out that was out last game, he might get 20 minutes again. I do not think that Pokusevski is an ad. Just look at that schedule to begin with, and the fact that it's Alexei Pokusevski. But I at least want to see, like, maybe I'm wrong. Maybe he's just awesome over this period. Probably not. The other thing that is worth mentioning with the Hornets schedule, right, is I know 2-game week stinks, but Friday, Saturday, Sunday, Monday, Tuesday, that's 3 games in 5 nights. No one has more games in the next 5 nights than the Hornets. The problem comes after that is that if you don't get them for this Friday, Saturday back-to-back, there's nothing. It becomes terrible. So we love looking at things on a calendar. We're big Gregorian fans over here. What happens in a week? 2 games? That's bad. And it is, because that's how our matchups run. But 3 games in 5 nights for the Hornets, squeeze what you can out of it. Royce O'Neal gets that boost for Phoenix, especially if Eric Gordon remains out. And then Grant Williams is getting a lot as well. He's coming off the bench with Trey Mann back. But a lot of minutes. He's getting backup center run. He's worth using again. 3 games in 5 nights. And I've said this all along with Trey Mann and with Vasilije Micic. So we add them. When you get to this stage here where it is that 2-game week, because then after Tuesday, there's 1 game in 5 nights, then you move on. Then you drop. But schedules shouldn't just be looked at Monday to Sunday. We've got to look at the broader picture, I think, as more of a general rule. Today's episode is brought to you by eBay Motors. Our partners at eBay Motors have teamed up with me all season to bring you some of the best fantasy picks each week. So when you're out there scouring the waiver wire, trying to find the right people to add to your team to get that fantasy championship, we're going to get you some players that are guaranteed to fit on your roster. So eBay's guaranteed fit fantasy picks of the week. Let's go to Houston. Let's look at Jacques Landale. With Alperen Şengün done for the season, Landale's got the opportunity to play improved minutes. He doesn't have to start. He didn't last game. He played 26 minutes off the bench. There's going to be fluctuations depending on the opponents. But Landale is an interesting enough player that if you do miss out on other options, when the schedule makes it make sense, the increased role for Landale is something that we have to pay some attention to. Again, he's not the best player, obviously, but it's someone that just adding little bits and pieces in of value across your fantasy team on the right squad at the right time can make all the difference in the world. I know that making those sort of ads can be the little guaranteed fit type of things that can lead you to a championship. eBay Motors knows that as well. I told them that about fantasy, but they told me that about cars. With over 122 million parts for your number one ride or die, you can make sure that your ride stays running smoothly. Brake kits, LED headlights, roof racks, bumpers, whatever it is that your baby needs, eBay Motors has. And with eBay Guaranteed Fit, it's guaranteed to fit your ride the first time, every time, or your money back. Plus, at these prices, you're burning rubber and not cash. So keep your ride or die alive at ebaymotors.com. eBay Guaranteed Fit is only available to US customers, eligible items only, and exclusions apply. Okay, 2 games down, 4 to go. Orlando, Toronto. The Orlando Magic taking on your Toronto Raptors. The Magic go Friday, Sunday, as so many of these teams do, and then they have 3 next week, Tuesday, Thursday, Sunday. The Raptors are Friday, Sunday as well, and then they have the 2 games off to start next week and then play Wednesday, Friday, Saturday. So both teams have only 3 games next week, but the vast majority of teams over the next 10 days do play. 10 days? Yeah, 10 days, play 5 games. It's either 6, 5, or 4. So when you see a 3-game week, it's not as disastrous when we're starting from Friday. Rowan Barrett is out again for personal reasons. Gary Trent is questionable. DJ Carton is out. We are seeing the Raptors now. I hope everything is okay with RJ. He's dealt with some personal issues all through this season once he's been back in Toronto. But that is 2 in a row, and that is 3 out of the last 4 that Barrett's missed. He came back against Denver and played 38 minutes. It is also very interesting that they might be taking the Memphis Grizzlies approach. Go check out Jaren. I tweeted this out. Check out Jaren Jackson's last 9 games. Against every team that's above them in the standings, he's played, and every team that's below them, he's sat. Well, for Barrett, again, not sure this is right, but Barrett played against the Suns, sat against the Blazers, played against the Nuggets, sat against the Pistons, and now he is sitting against the Magic. So I guess they're ahead of him. Maybe that breaks the pattern. But then they go, actually, we saw Miami-Detroit go Friday, Sunday against each other. Orlando-Toronto do as well. Very interesting. But with Barrett out, Carton out, Trent maybe out, still a bit there for Brucey Brown, and there's a big opportunity for Dick. Orlando, Wendell Carter has been playing well. So let's just see if he continues that. He's at least streamable with this solid enough schedule Friday, Sunday, Tuesday, Thursday, every second day, basically up until Thursday, which is all right. And then Quickly's been really turning it on. Now, it's helped that Barnes and Barrett are out, but he's sort of finding his groove. He's been a top 25 player over the last 2 weeks, IQ, and we just hope that he actually stays playing for the rest of the year. John Isaac's getting a little bit more for Orlando. I don't think that we need to roster him necessarily. But last game, he brought a little bit of offensive punch. He brings the defense. He's playing more minutes. You can't trust it. But again, it's all about hitting the schedule. 3 games, 5 nights. No back-to-backs. Do you get enough out of Isaac to consider him? I think you at least consider it. But I think you do more than consider Jontay Porter for the Raptors. He's playing 20 a night. They don't have another center. Olynyk's not playing 36. Porter can block. He can assist. His assist rate's sky high. He rebounds. He scores a bit. He is Kelly Olynyk in a Porter body. That's basically who he is. And in 22, 23 minutes, with the potential of more coming at some point, I actually think that we add him. The problem here with that is that then you have the Monday, Tuesday next week where nothing's going on. But then they've got a 3-game in 4 night in the middle of next week. I like an ad of Porter. Actually, yeah, I think he's an ad. The Clippers, the Pelicans is the next one. I'd love to get some more information on the Clippers, but I don't have it. They're on a back-to-back, so they're playing on Thursday, and then they go Friday, Sunday, 3 games in 4 nights. And then next week, they have the Monday, Tuesday off as well, and then Wednesday, Friday, Sunday. The Pelicans play Friday and Saturday, so they're going to back-to-back, and then they have 4 games next week, a little bit different to everyone else. Tuesday, Thursday, Friday, Sunday. Kawhi Leonard left the last game with the back spasms. At the moment, he is still questionable for Thursday's action. Now, I would be absolutely stunned and flabbergasted if he played on Thursday. I would say, given that we still haven't ruled him out, he is traveling with the team, that there is a chance he plays on Friday. James Harden has popped up as questionable in the injury report. He is, I can't guarantee it, but I can sort of guarantee it. He is not playing both of these games. They have said it twice over the last 5 days. Yeah, we need to find a way to get Harden some rest. He's falling apart under these minutes and this load. We need to find an opportunity to give him some rest. And lo and behold, there he is on the injury report with a shoulder strain. I would expect that Kawhi sits against the Bulls on Thursday. Maybe he plays on Friday, and then Jim Harden sits on Friday against the Pelicans. So I'm labeling Harden very close to doubtful, a doubtful questionable tag. So he's officially questionable, I think he plays Thursday, Jimmy, but I think on Friday, Harden will sit. That's my expectation. Rusty Westbrook's going to be out, and Dyson Daniels, the dustbuster, he'll be out as well for the Pelicans. For the Pelicans, CJ McCollum stinks at the moment. He is really, really struggling. The schedule is positive for them, so we do hold through that, but he is doing nothing. The minutes are down, the percentages are down, the defensive stats are down, the assists are down. Everything's non-existent. The only saving grace for CJ at the moment, we talk about being cutthroat and reducing your tolerance for holding onto spuds. At this point of the year in playoffs, the only reason that you consider a hold is how nice this schedule is. The Friday, Saturday, and then 4 games next week. That's really strong. That's 6 games, 10 nights. That's a strong schedule. Bones Highland is going to get a boost because I am assuming that Harden is out. All my assumptions are that Harden does not play on Friday. Norman Powell gets a boost. Amir Coffey might get a boost if Kawhi is out, but I guess they could start Terrence Mann at point guard and then bring Norman Powell or Amir Coffey in to replace Harden. I think that Bones will get a boost irrespective. How much remains the question. And then Larry Nance is getting boosted for the Pelicans because they're just not playing Jonas Valanciunas. That doesn't mean that we have to add Larry Nance necessarily. He's a 5-point per game scorer that might play 25 minutes, might play 20 minutes, might play 29 minutes. But he's definitely getting a boost because they start him basically every second half. Valanciunas, I don't think this matchup's going to suit him. And yeah, it's interesting what they're doing with their rotation. The Denver Nuggets and the San Antonio Spurs, that's the next game that we're taking a look at here. The Nuggets go Friday, Sunday, and then Tuesday, Thursday, Sunday next week. The Spurs go Friday, Sunday, and then Tuesday, Friday, Saturday next week. So they end the week with a back-to-back. At the moment, Denver does not have an injury outside of Vlatko Čančar. And for the Spurs, the horse Keldon Johnson sat the last game with an illness, so I'm going to put him as questionable. Haven't got an official update on that yet. I'm just double-checking. No, we have not. And Chetty Osman, the discman, he has missed the last couple of games with an ankle problem. He's probably closer to doubtful, but I'm just going to put him questionable for now. What am I watching? Well, it's Jokic versus Wembanyama, probably the 2 number 1 picks next season. Now, I did say that I think Wembanyama is going to break fantasy, and I stand by that. What he's doing in 29 minutes a night is ridiculous this season, and he could play 34 next season and be miles ahead of everybody else. But one of the things I said was I think that means you've got to go to an auction draft. But I've also, I've been thinking a little bit more about it. You've got Jokic, Shea, Luka, Wemby, who'll be, I'd say, consensus top 4. So while Wemby, I do think will end up number 1 as early as next season, probably will go as the number 1 pick and end the season as number 1, I think. The fact that you can still get Wembanyama, or Jokic or Shea or Doncic, then there's Giannis Embiid after those guys, in those first 6 picks, maybe that doesn't make the Snakes completely overpowered, or the number 1 pick completely overpowered. It might. It very well could. Because Wemby just might be miles ahead. But there's a lot of value at the top. But I just want to see these 2 guys against each other. Peyton Watson keeps getting that little boost as a nice defensive streamer for the Nuggets, while Blake Wesley, he's sort of boosted. They're giving him basically the backup point guard run. I'd like to see a little bit more out of him in terms of playing time, but I think we're going to get there. I just don't know when that's going to be. But that's just one to watch and see the little boost he's getting. The last game is the Atlanta Hawks and the Utah Jazzmen. This could be some real disgusting lineups. The Hawks play Friday, Sunday, and then they go Monday, Thursday, Saturday the week after. The Jazz go Friday, Saturday. They've got a back-to-back coming up. Yuck. And then they play 4 the following week, Monday, Wednesday, Thursday, Saturday. And we've talked a lot about how the Jazz have had a terrible schedule. Now they've got an amazing schedule. Jalen Johnson has missed the last few. I am preemptively labeling him questionable. I think there's a decent chance he plays, but I just don't know. Okongwu's going to be out. Trae Young's going to be out. Kobe Buffkin's going to be out. I would expect that Larry Markkinen and his quad issue sits this one. It's the first game of a back-to-back against another bad team. I don't think that Lowry has really any hope of playing. It's also a little curious that the man on the street, JORDANCLARKSON, Jordan Clarkson, has now got a groin injury and didn't practice. Now, that was a day or so ago. We haven't had an official update there. But, again, given who it's against, on a back-to-back, the direction this team is clearly heading, I have to think there's a risk he doesn't play. Taylor Hendricks is on the way back. He did practice, so he probably does play in this one. DeAndre Hunter's got to be the guy that we watch, but I I don't think he's any different. He's the same bloke who doesn't do anything apart from score and then needs those shots to go in at a high rate, and they don't. Got a roster in, but man, it's a tough experience. And then for the Jazz, I do want to watch Clarkson. Like, A, does he play? B, how much does he play? C, how much do they run through things with him? Or do they just lean more into Jontay and Sexton and a little bit more sensible and done? Bruno Fernando keeps getting that boost as the backup. He is a solid enough 12-team stream guy. And then the big fella, Bryce Sensabaugh. I imagine Markkanen's out, but if Hendricks plays, does Sensabaugh start with Hendricks, or do they keep Luka Šamanić in? That would be disgusting, but we have to wait and see what they do. But I do think that Sensabaugh is going to get a sizable boost. Today's episode is also brought to you by Stitch Fix. You know, you get that instant confidence boost when you dress yourself up, makes you look really good. You look in the mirror and go, yeah, look at this bloke. He's killing it. Get that really nice, buzzy inside feeling. Well, with Stitch Fix, you can easily upgrade your wardrobe with a professional stylist that helps you find new, on-trend favorites that will work for you. And the way that you know that they're trendy is they said the phrase on trend, because only cool people say that. You give your stylist your size, your style, your budget preferences, and how often you want them to use the term on trend, and they will send that to you in a box. 5 items. It's not a subscription. You don't get it coming every month. You just go in there and go, hey, box me up. And they send it out to you. You look at what they send. It's going to be fantastic. It's going to fit. But on the off chance that something goes awry, you just send back what you don't like. Shipping, exchanges, and returns are always free. And it saves you time of going out to the shops. Where am I going to look? What's going to fit me? What's in style? I don't want to be browsing through Vogue to find out what the current men's fashion trends are. No, Stitch Fix does that for you. Style that makes you feel as good as you look. Get started today at stitchfix.com/lockedon. That is stitchfix.com/lockedon. stitchfix.com/lockedon. And you know that I'm a fashion legend, so yeah, all that information is 100% accurate. Let's look at the schedule. What's going on for the next couple of days? Friday, Saturday, we're talking back-to-backs. Hornets, Pelicans, Jazz. Hornets, shenanigans? I think they'll be all right. Jazz, absolutely shenanigans. Pelicans, shouldn't be too much of a problem there. Maybe a Zion rest, but I doubt it. He's been playing through them. 4 days. Who's got the 3 and 4? So that's Friday, Saturday, Sunday, Monday, leading into week 21. If you are not going to be available in week 21, if you're going to be eliminated, then you don't care about this. All you want is the next 3 days. But if you're feeling okay about it, getting a little boost heading into Monday might be all right. Atlanta, Detroit, Miami, and Utah. 4 teams go 3 games in 4 nights. There are also 4 teams who have 1 game in 4 nights. Dallas, Houston, Milwaukee, and the Thunder. And we know that Luka Doncic is already ruled out for Thursday's game. So someone is going to get the opportunity to get some more minutes there, maybe. But that is such a poor schedule that you shouldn't care about Dante Exum or Tim Hardaway or Josh Green. They're not good enough, and they're not playing enough. It's also a downside to Jacques Landale and to Amen Thompson with 1 game in 4 nights. But I think there's a little bit of a longer run with those guys. The Bucks guys, you were talking Beasley, Portis. The Thunder guys, we're talking Dort, probably Giddy. The Thunder have got a pretty rough schedule coming up here. You'll see in a minute. We're going to go through a bunch of different day periods here because there's some interesting stuff going on. Now, if we look at the next 5 nights, there are a lot of teams playing 3 games. Atlanta, Brooklyn, Charlotte, Denver, Detroit, Miami, Minnesota, Pelicans, Magic, Spurs, Jazz, Wizards. I don't need to talk about that too much, but what I do need to talk about is there are 2 teams that play 1 game in the next 5 nights starting Friday. Milwaukee and Oklahoma City. So Beasley, Portis, if for some reason you care about Jay Crowder, Chris Middleton, Lou Dort, Giddy. Like you obviously hold Shea and Chet and the Bronco, but 1 game in 5 nights starting Friday for the Thunder and the Bucks is bad. It means you move on from a lot of those guys. Brook Lopez for Bucks. Like he's been bad anyway. 1 game, like this is what I talk about when we talk about narrowing the tolerance of cutting guys. Lopez has had really strong success all season. The last 2 months, 6 weeks has been dreadful. And now you got 1 game in 5 nights coming up. It's not worth holding for that to turn around, I don't think. But again, your own situation will determine the way you approach that. But mainly what I'm saying is that don't rule that idea out. For the next 6 days, 4 games in 6 nights, there are 3 teams. It's Detroit, it's Miami, and it's Utah. Those names keep coming up. But there are 7 teams who play 2 games in 6 nights. Chicago, Dallas, Houston, the Lakers. The Lakers, what a terrible run this has been. The Bucks, the Knicks, and the Thunder. So, you were considering a drop of Isaiah Hartenstein. Limited minutes, bad schedule. See you later. Who's the replacement for Kobe White? Doesn't really matter. 2 games in 6 nights. Who's replacing Luka Doncic? Doesn't matter. 2 games in 6 nights. Who's replacing Jalen Williams? Well, it doesn't matter because he's back. But the Thunder, the Lakers. Brook Lopez again, 2 games in 6, not good. For the next 7 days, we've got a +3 situation going on here. Friday to Thursday. You add a Jazz man, 5 games in 7 nights. You drop a Laker or a Thunder, they've got 2 games in 7 nights. That's +3, 1 add. So, you look at Bryce Sensabaugh, Keontae George, if for some God knows reason he's available. If Walker Kessler was dropped, this might be an opportunity to look back and get him. He might not play the games with his foot. I don't know. I'm not sure whether Markkanen's available. Taylor Hendricks. But you drop a Rui Hachimura. If, God forsaken, you're still holding Spencer Dinwiddie. You've got Josh Giddey or Lou Dort or someone like that. +3. 2 games in 7 versus 5 games in 7. Big difference. What about 8 games? There are 4 teams that play 5 games in 8 nights. Overloaded schedule. Detroit, Miami, the Pelicans, and the Jazz. There are 8 teams that play 3 games in 8 nights, +2s. Charlotte, Chicago, Dallas, Houston, the Lakers, Bucks, Knicks, Thunder, a lot of the same names. And plus the 2-game teams, Dallas and Charlotte. If you look at 9 days, there's a +3 advantage here because Utah plays 6 games in the next 9 nights. We dealt with the nonsense, but this is where it's time for Keontae George to fly. Could Keontae George over the next 9 days be top 20 in totals? I think maybe a stretch, but that's a lot of games, man. And your Sensabaugh and Hendrickses, Sextons, don't know if Clarkson will play them. And then you can compare and contrast that to Dallas, the Lakers, the Bucks, and the Thunder, who have 3 games in the next 9 nights. That is terrible. Lastly, we might as well just run from the end all through week 20 and all through week 21 here, so the next 10 days. And I do that because we've got a +3 advantage there as well. Detroit, Miami, the Pelicans, the Jazz, 6 games in the next 10 nights. The Mavericks, 3 games in the next 10 nights starting Friday. So yeah, if you were looking at like, I've got to add Exum or Hardaway or Green or Jones, it's not good. 3 and 10 is terrible. It's a terrible run. And the thing with Dallas though there is, all right, is they've got 3 and 10 and those 3 games end on Thursday. So they've got 3 in the next 7 nights and then, which is borderline, not great, but borderline, 3 and 7 and then none for the next 3 days after that. So again, I guess if you were streaming a Hardaway, you could maybe get 3 out of 7 is not ideal, especially when you've got teams going 5 and 7. But then you move on from them after Thursday. So a lot of this is dependent on how many moves you can make, how often you're going to be using waiver moves. Because if you're using them less often, a 3 and 10 is useless. If you're able to use more of them, well, that little run they have where Dallas plays 3 in 7, it's not the worst, it's not the best, but it's a little more usable. So many different key things to look at, I think, here with fantasy. Let's look at some Yahoo point streams for Friday. DeAndre Hunter, Vasilije Micic, Trey Mann, Grant Williams, a lot of Hornets value there. Brucey Brown. And then if we're going to go deeper, we go to Bryce Sensabaugh. That's under the assumption that Larry Markkanen is out. For ESPN points, a lot of the same names. DeAndre Hunter, Micic, Mann, Grant Williams, Dunk Robinson comes in. And Bruno Fernando also looks to project pretty well for Friday's games. If we go to category leagues now, look at the scoring categories. Who do we look at for points? Remember, standard league stream and deeper league stream. DeAndre Hunter for points. Vasilije Micic also looks good for points. For threes, we go into Duncan Robinson, and then we do go back to the well and Davis Bertans. Process over results. He shot 11% from 3 last game. It was really bad. But is that who Davis Bertans is, or could he go 5 of 9 next game? Like very easily, yes. Remember, if he shot 1 of 9 last game, that does not mean he shoots 1 of 9 in the next one. Process over results. Big man stats. Who's the rebounder? It is Big Dick Nick Richards. That's the one I'm looking at there. And then for deeper league, Larry Nance. For blocks, I'm going with Dick Richards and Bruno Fernando for those deeper leagues. For your guard stats, assists is very obviously, I think, Vasilije Micic. But with the uncertainty now around Cade Cunningham and Asar Thompson being out, while Marcus Sasser can move in now, I don't think he's a great passer, but he's going. If Cade is out, Sasser will probably start, I would guess, especially with Grimes out as well. For steals, Kentavious Caldwell-Pope's a standard league steal streamer, and then Larry Nance is your deeper league steal streamer. And then lastly, we look at the percentage categories. Who do we look at for field goal percentage? Well, it is Nick Richards, and then for deeper leagues, it's Jim Wiseman. For free throw percentage, we go to DeAndre Hunter, and for deeper leagues, we go to Malaka Branham. And that is the end of our streaming show for Friday. For some reason, there was just a lot to talk about. Maybe I just waffled. That is probably more likely. So don't forget to go ahead and give the thumbs up on YouTube. Go ahead to Double Bang. Go ahead and leave your comments, subscribe. We didn't hit the Jordan Poole 75,000 marker, so no mustache there. Unlucky for you guys. Guys, we are done here. Thank you so much for listening, everyone. See ya.